The chamber wasn't built for sound. It was built for silence. A circular void suspended above a dying star, where light bent just enough to make every species feel smaller than they already were. No echoes, no distractions. Just presence. And judgment. Hundreds of alien representatives filled the tiers, their forms shifting, towering, coiling, each one a symbol of power earned across millennia. At the center stood one human. No armor, no escort, no visible fear. Ambassador Lara Voss didn't speak when her turn was called. She waited. That alone drew attention. Humanity has been summoned to answer for unauthorized military mobilization, announced High Arbiter Vrex, his voice layered through translation fields that struggled to contain its weight. You were given terms. You chose defiance. A ripple of agreement spread across the chamber. The humans had been warned. Stand down. Disarm. Integrate. They had done none of it. Instead, they had gone quiet. For years. Too quiet. You misunderstand, Lara said finally, her voice calm, almost conversational. We didn't mobilize. A pause. We prepared. Soft murmurs. Confusion. Dismissal. Preparation implies intent, Vrax replied. Intent implies threat. Lara tilted her head slightly. Only if you assume we plan to attack you. A few delegates shifted. Others ignored it. The Arbiter leaned forward. Then explain your fleets. Lara didn't answer immediately. Instead, she looked around the chamber, really looked. Not at their size. Not at their power. At their certainty. You were warned, she said. The words landed differently this time. Because they weren't defensive. They were final. Humanity does not recognize this council's authority over our survival. The chamber reacted instantly outrage, disbelief, rising tension. You will comply, Vrax said, colder now, or you will be corrected. For the first time, Lara smiled. Not wide, not proud, just enough. No, she said quietly. And somewhere far beyond the reach of the council's sensors, something massive shifted in the dark. Something that had been waiting a very long time. And for the first time in recorded history, the council realized they might have just made a mistake. The council did not adjourn. It tightened. Security fields intensified across the chamber. Silent barriers layered over one another, invisible but absolute. No one entered. No one left. That alone told Lara everything. They weren't debating anymore. They were preparing to act. Containment protocols are now active, High Arbiter Vrax announced. Until humanity complies, all external communications are restricted. A calculated move. Cut her off from Earth. Force isolation. Control the narrative. Lara didn't react. She simply exhaled, slow and steady, as if this had always been part of the conversation. Do you believe we came here without expecting that? She asked. No answer came. But several delegates shifted, because that question shouldn't have been asked so calmly. Behind her, a thin projection flickered Maya Chun's work, running silently in the background. No one in the chamber could see it. No one knew it was there. Except Lara. Your council has governed this region for how long? She continued. Centuries? Longer? Long enough to maintain order, Vrax replied. Lara nodded slightly. Order based on what? No response. So she answered for them. Control of infrastructure, trade routes, communication layers, shared systems that every species depends on. Now they were listening. Because she wasn't arguing anymore. She was describing them. You built a system where everything connects, Lara said. Everything relies on something else. Efficient, stable. She paused. Predictable. That word landed. Across the chamber, a few expressions changed, subtle, but real. Because predictability was power. But it was also exposure. Far from the council, hidden far beyond mapped trade corridors, Admiral Adrian Cole stood in a command space that didn't exist on any galactic registry. No signals. No emissions. No identity. Only silence and a fleet. Not gathered. Distributed. Thousands of vessels, scattered across dead zones, asteroid fields, uncharted systems. Invisible. Waiting. Council signal disruption confirmed, an officer said quietly. Cole didn't look up. Expected. Ambassador channel is isolated. A brief pause. Then, not for long, back in the chamber, Vrax's voice cut through the silence. You speak as if you understand our systems. Lara met his gaze. We do. That was the moment the tone shifted. Not loudly. Not dramatically. Just enough. Because for the first time, someone in that chamber realized this wasn't a negotiation. It was a delay. You will transmit a full disarmament code, Vrax said. Now, Lara didn't move. Didn't hesitate. Didn't even look away. No, the word didn't echo. It didn't need to. Because at that exact moment, every restricted communication channel inside the council chamber flickered. Just once. Barely noticeable. Except to those who understood systems. And far away, in the silent dark where humanity had hidden its strength for decades, a signal finally got through. The first thing the council noticed wasn't the signal. It was the delay. Commands that should have been instant weren't. A fraction of a second at first. Then a little more. Enough to feel wrong. Not enough to explain. Stabilize internal systems, one of the council technicians ordered, their limbs moving rapidly across layered interfaces. Systems are stable, came the reply. That made it worse. Because something stable shouldn't hesitate. At the center of the chamber, Lara Voss remained exactly where she had been. Still, calm, watching. You've lost synchronization, she said. No one acknowledged her. Not yet. But they checked. Of course they checked. And when they did, they saw it. Tiny discrepancies across communication layers. Micro delays between command relays. Data packets arriving just slightly out of alignment. Nothing catastrophic. Nothing dramatic. But enough. Enough to fracture certainty. Localized interference, one delegate said quickly. We can isolate it. They tried. They failed. Because there was nothing to isolate. This wasn't an intrusion. It was integration. Far beyond the Council's reach, in places long dismissed as strategically irrelevant, dormant human relays activated in sequence. Not all at once. Never all at once. Just enough. Each one linking into the vast network the galaxy depended on. Not replacing it. Not attacking it. Touching it. Adjusting it. Understanding it better than anyone ever had. Phase alignment beginning, a human officer reported. Admiral Cole watched without expression. Maintain dispersion, he said. The fleet didn't move. It didn't need to. Every ship was already exactly where it was supposed to be. Back inside the chamber, tension began to rise, not in voices, but in posture. Subtle shifts. Recalculations. Doubt. You've been inside our systems, Vrax said slowly. It wasn't a question. Lara didn't deny it. We've been studying them. For how long? She didn't answer directly. Instead, for as long as we needed, that answer carried weight. Because it implied something none of them wanted to consider. Preparation. Not recent. Not reactive. Planned. Over time. You think this gives you leverage? Vrax pressed. Lara shook her head slightly. No. A pause. This gives us time. That was when the first external report broke through the Council's restricted channels. Fragmented. Distorted. But clear enough. Fleet movements. Human. Unregistered. Everywhere. Not converging. Positioning. And suddenly, the Council wasn't dealing with one human anymore. They were dealing with all of them. And they had no idea where any of them actually were. The Council tried to regain control the only way it knew how. Centralization. If something was slipping through the network, then they would tighten it, pull every layer inward, reduce variables, reassert dominance through unified command. Collapse outer communication rings, Vrax ordered. Route all system control through primary Council channels. It was a standard doctrine, one that had worked for centuries. And that was exactly the problem. Across the chamber, systems began to reroute. Data streams condensed. Control pathways narrowed. Everything flowed toward a single, authoritative structure. Cleaner, stronger, more predictable. Lara watched it happen, without interrupting, without reacting. Because this was the moment they had been waiting for. Far away, in the quiet dark where human signals barely existed, Dr. Maya Chun leaned over a projection that mapped the entire galactic network, not as territories or empires, but as connections. And right now, those connections were tightening. "They're doing it," one of her analysts said, almost in disbelief. Maya nodded. "Of course they are, because no system built on control could resist consolidating when threatened." "They think they're stabilizing," the analyst added. "They are," Maya replied. A pause. "Just not in the way they expect." Back in the chamber, the effect was immediate. Delays vanished. Synchronization improved. Commands flowed cleanly again. Relief spread. Subtle. Contained. But real. "You see," one delegate said, "the disruption was external. We've neutralized it." Vrax didn't speak, but his posture shifted slightly. Confidence returning. Authority reestablished. And right in the center of it, Lara Voss didn't move. Didn't smile. Didn't react. Which, somehow, felt wrong. "Ambassador," Vrax said, his voice regaining its earlier edge. "Your demonstration is over." Lara looked at him. Not defiant. Not afraid. Just certain. "It hasn't started yet." That was the moment doubt came back. Because nothing in her tone suggested bluff. Far beyond their reach, Admiral Cole received the update. Centralization complete, an officer confirmed. Cole gave a single nod. "Then they've chosen the battlefield." He stepped closer to the main display. "Begin Phase 2. Across the hidden human network, something shifted. Not outward. Inward. Every relay. Every signal. Every point of access. Now connected to one thing. One structure. One system. The same one the Council had just concentrated all of its control into." Back in the chamber, everything was stable. Perfectly synchronized. Flawless. For exactly 3 seconds. Then every system inside the Council chamber responded to something else. For a moment, no one moved. Because nothing had failed. That was the problem. Every system inside the Council chamber was still active interfaces responsive. Data streams flowing. Environmental controls stable. Perfect. Except they weren't responding to the Council anymore. "Reassert command authority," Vrax ordered. The command went through. It was processed. Acknowledged. Then ignored. Not rejected. Not blocked. Simply bypassed. Across the chamber, control panels began displaying the same subtle anomaly commands executing, but outcomes shifting. Slightly at first. Barely noticeable. Then more. Until the pattern became undeniable. "This is not interference," one of the senior delegates said quietly. They were right. Interference was chaotic. This was precise. Directed. "Trace the control layer," another ordered. They tried. What they found didn't make sense. There was no central override. No invading system. No identifiable source. Just alignment. Everything in the network behaving as if it belonged to something else. Lara Voss took a single step forward. That was all it took. The chamber's attention snapped back to her. "You built this," she said. "Not the hardware. Not the ships. The structure." She gestured slightly not at them, but at the invisible systems connecting them. "A network where everything depends on everything else. Where efficiency replaces independence." No one interrupted. Because they were starting to understand. "You thought that made you stronger," Lara continued. A pause. "It made you reachable." Far away, Admiral Cole watched as the final layers of synchronization locked into place. No force. No violence. Just access. Phase 3 stable, an officer reported. Cole's voice remained steady. "Hold." He didn't rush it, didn't escalate, because this part mattered. Back in the chamber, the council made one last attempt to regain control. Disconnect the system, Vrax ordered. Sever all external dependencies. Full isolation. It was their final move. If they couldn't control the network, they would abandon it. Systems began to shut down. Layers collapsing. Connections severing. For a brief moment, it worked. Control started to return. Partial. Fragmented. But theirs. Until something unexpected happened. The systems didn't go dark. They stayed active. Even without the network. Even without external connections. Even without command authority. Impossible. Someone whispered. Because systems that were supposed to depend on the network no longer needed it. They had been rewritten. Not replaced. Not destroyed. Adapted. And for the first time, real fear entered the chamber. Because this wasn't a takeover. This was transformation. And they had no idea when it started. Or how deep it went. Lara's voice broke the silence. You think this is about control? She shook her head slightly. It isn't. A pause. It's about understanding. And in that moment, every system in the chamber began to respond to a single unified signal. Human and growing stronger. The signal didn't arrive with noise. It arrived with clarity. Across the council chamber, every system, every interface, every projection, every layer of control shifted at once, aligning to a single incoming stream. No distortion. No resistance. As if it had always been meant to be there. What is this? Vrax demanded. No one answered. Because they were all seeing it. Not data. Not code. Coordinates. Thousands of them. Spreading across known space. At first, they looked random. Scattered points in empty regions, dead zones, uncharted sectors, places no empire had ever considered valuable. Then the pattern emerged. Not random. Distributed. Strategic. Every coordinate marked something that had been invisible until now. Ships. Human ships. Not gathered. Positioned. Waiting. The chamber fell silent. Because the scale didn't make sense. You don't have fleets there, one delegate said, almost reflexively. Lara didn't look at them. We do now. Far beyond every mapped boundary, the darkness between stars began to change. One by one, then hundreds, then thousands, human vessels powered up. Not with explosive energy. Not with sudden motion. With precision. Silent engines activating. Systems coming online in perfect synchronization. They didn't jump to war. They revealed themselves. Admiral Cole stood at the center of it. For decades, he had overseen a fleet no one believed existed. Not hidden in one place, but spread across everything. A presence so thin it was invisible. Until it wasn't. All fleets, confirm readiness, he said. Acknowledgements came back instantly. Calm, disciplined, certain. Hold position, Cole ordered. And they did. Because this wasn't an attack. Not yet. Back in the council chamber, the projections expanded, zooming out, mapping the full extent of what they were now seeing. The realization hit all at once. This wasn't a fleet. It was a network. A military structure built not around concentration, but omnipresence. You've surrounded half the galaxy. Someone whispered. Lara finally turned. No. A pause. We've been part of it the entire time. That was when the final layer activated. Across every council system, every interface shifted again. This time, not to display, but to respond. The same signal that had taken control of their network, now connected directly to the emerging human fleet. Command. Synchronization. Unity. And for the first time, the council understood what they were looking at. Not a rebellion. Not a defense. A system. One they had helped build. One they had never seen. Until now. Vrax's voice dropped, quieter than before. You planned this. Lara didn't deny it. We prepared. And outside, in the endless dark between stars, Earth's war fleet finally moved. Not forward. Not aggressively. Just enough. Enough for the entire galaxy to see. They were already everywhere. No alarms sounded. No weapons fired. That was what unsettled them the most. Because every instinct the Council had built over centuries expected escalation, retaliation, aggression, dominance. But the human fleet did none of it. They held position. Everywhere. Across systems the Council had never bothered to watch. Human ships now existed in quiet formation, silent, precise, unavoidable. Not invading. Not retreating. Present. And impossible to ignore. Inside the chamber, the weight of that realization settled slowly, like pressure building in a sealed space. You had the capacity to strike first, one delegate said, their voice lower now. You had every advantage. Lara Voss didn't deny it. We still do. That answer didn't feel like a threat. It felt like something worse. Restraint. Far beyond the chamber, Admiral Cole stood with his fleet at full readiness. One command, just one, and the entire structure they had built could collapse into something far more direct. Every major system, every command network, every military structure in the galaxy, within reach. Awaiting final directive, an officer said. Cole didn't answer immediately, because this had never been about destruction. That was the difference. Maintain position, he said. Back in the council chamber, High Arbiter Vrax finally understood what had happened. Not just the tactic, the mistake. You were never trying to defeat us, he said slowly. Lara looked at him. No. A pause. We were making sure you couldn't. Silence followed. Not the enforced silence of the chamber. A real one. Because every species present understood the implication. Power, as they had defined it, was broken. Control, as they had built it, was exposed. And humanity had chosen not to exploit it. You've taken control of the network, one of the delegates said. What stops you from taking everything else? Lara's answer came without hesitation. Nothing. The word hit harder than any threat. Then why haven't you? Vrax asked. Lara took a step forward. Not aggressive. Not defensive. Just certain. Because if we did, we'd become you. No one spoke after that. Because there was nothing left to argue. Only something to accept. Across the galaxy, the human fleet began to shift again. Not into attack formations. Into open channels. Communications restored. Restrictions lifted. Control returned. Not taken. Given back. System by system. Layer by layer. The same network that had been silently reshaped. Now released. Not erased. Improved. More resilient. Less dependent. And for the first time, shared. In the cycles that followed, the council did not dissolve. It changed. Slowly. Carefully. Under a new understanding. That power built on control could always be broken. But power built on understanding was something else entirely. Humanity had not conquered the galaxy. They had revealed it. Shown its weakness. Its assumptions. Its blind trust in systems no one truly understood. And when the moment came, they didn't destroy it. They rewrote the rules. Because humanity's strength was never in their fleets, or their technology, or their reach across the stars. It was in something the rest of the galaxy had forgotten how to value. Patience. Observation. The ability to wait until the exact moment when action was no longer about winning, but about changing everything. Rotero concluido. Conforme co. Todas as diatrizes y arquivos, foram aplicados cortamente.